a recognition that there was this thing called ketogenics and ketogenesis, and that there was a way in which you could train the body to be better at burning fat. But the question really was, how do you do that? Because there was, again, up until 5 years ago, there was still this assumption you have to have glycogen. There are ways that we can go about extracting 95 to 97% of our energy from fat when we are performing at a very high level. Like for some runners, it could be 20 miles and get 95% of your energy from your stored body fat. But you have to teach your body how to do that. That's the development of metabolic flexibility that I teach and that I'm such a fan of, because it manifests itself off over a wide range of benefits. More energy all the time. Hunger being suppressed or mitigated to the point you don't think about what's the next meal and what's the next meal and what's the next meal. Because I guarantee you, in your day when you were doing this rapid starvation, you were always thinking like, okay, when's the next 247 calorie bolus that I can eat, right?
Oh, yes.
When you become metabolically flexible, one of the first things that happens is appetite goes out the window. You discover you're much more efficient. I talk about metabolic flexibility. I also talk about metabolic efficiency, which is the ability to extract energy at a much more efficient rate, so you're not wasting calories or wasting energy.
And what's the result of that? That you need to eat less?
Yes, it's crazy. So most people who have been keto for any length of time will report back, dude, first of all, 3 meals a day, can't even handle it. It's like, I couldn't eat 3 meals a day. It's way too much food. Number two, I probably get by on 30% fewer calories now doing all the same activities than I did before I was keto. What's that about? And what it's about metabolic efficiency. It's about, less thermic effect of food. Sometimes we eat a large meal, more than we should have, and the body raises its temperature just to kind of burn off some of that fuel, right? Because it doesn't want that much fuel at one time. Yes, it tries to stash the glucose into the glycogen reserves in the muscles. If there's not enough room, it goes to the fat cells. Yes, there's some protein, but excess protein goes to the liver. Gluconeogenesis gets converted to sugar. Same issue with that. So all of these elements of efficiency, now you don't need as much protein because you're sparing protein instead of deaminating it and then peeing it out all the time. You don't need as much carbohydrate because you've learned how to make ketones from your own stored body fuel. Those ketones really reduce the amount of glucose that you need to make or you need to take in from the outside. There's a statement that many people make in the keto world that there is no requirement in human nutrition for carbohydrate at all, because the body can make enough glucose through gluconeogenesis and then offset the rest of the requirements with ketones. So the efficiency becomes, again, a very important aspect in reduction of inflammation, because the efficiency also carries with it a reduction in reactive oxygen species from the inefficient burning of fuel to get rid of it. The house cleaning I talked about, where a cell will look at the environment and go, geez, there's not enough substrate around for me to divide right now, so I think I'll stay where I am and I'll do some house cleaning, and I'll literally consume some of the damaged proteins within. I'll consume some of the damaged fats. A cell might even say, time for me to give up the ghost. I'm going to die, autophagy. The cell will self-destruct based on the signals that it gets from the environment, and that environment is a dearth, if you will, of nutrients. Now, conversely, if you're eating every couple of hours, you're eating 3 square meals a day, plus snacks in between, plus something before you go to bed, which most people do, the body goes, well, there's so much food around. This is amazing. So my cells, they can divide because there'll be plenty of substrate and food for the two of me when I divide. But as we know from sort of the anti-aging movement, cells have kind of a finite number of divisions. That's what the telomeres are all about, right? And so if you can prolong that time from when one cell decides it's time to divide, and not only prolong the time, but then have that one cell start to do some house cleaning, that's a critical kind of theory behind the anti-aging movement and the anti-aging aspect of keto and of intermittent fasting and of long-term fasting. So there's a lot of, it's like a new era of science that we're embarking on here that kind of has to go back and refigure the science, because the science for the last several decades has kind of been based on body needs sugar, fat's bad, heart attacks are caused by fat and cholesterol. You have to do exercise to burn off all the calories if you want to lose weight. All these things have been shown to be inaccurate now.
So how do you walk people through that transition of, I'm fed up, I've tried 100 things, none of them worked, and I don't want to hate my life, and I would rather be, whether it's overweight or joint pain or whatever, I'd rather do all that to be able to eat and drink and be merry. How do you help them see that they don't have to make that sacrifice?
Well, first of all, I want to be clear. Every bite of food I put in my mouth, I enjoy. So there are certain things that you would say, hey, Mark, this is really healthy, you should try it. If it doesn't taste great, I'm not eating it. I don't care how healthy it is. So I only eat things that taste great. I only eat to satisfy my, my hedonistic side. The amount of food I eat, I've learned that there's a point at which it doesn't serve me to eat anymore. So the quantity of what I would consider a serving has diminished. Now, does that mean I'm sacrificing because I don't eat till I'm full or I don't finish my plate? No, quite the opposite. It means I eat till I'm satisfied, knowing full well that my body is really good at burning off stored body fat, so I got all the energy I need for days. So if I don't eat for another meal or two, I'm fine, but I can plan on eating at another meal. So I sort of adjust my intake on a daily basis to how do I feel. I don't look at numbers. I'm not one of those quantified self guys. I'm really operating off of how do I feel. And if I have the energy I want, if I'm maintaining muscle mass without any effort, if I'm never sick, and if I'm not hungry, then what's the problem with how I eat? What does it take to get there? It takes some work to get there. Because I'm telling you, the truth is there'll be no world in which eating Cinnabons all day is going to be healthy. Yes, you're going to have to give up sugars, so candies, pies, cakes, ice cream, cookies. Then you're going to have to probably give up, if you want to go keto, bread, pasta, rice, cereal. Now, what can you eat? You can eat all the vegetables you want. All the vegetables you want. Some fruit. Meat, fish, fowl, eggs, nuts, seeds, lots of sources of protein. Healthy fats, coconut oil, coconuts, avocado oil, nuts. And then within this realm of food, you can do all sorts of stuff to make it taste phenomenal. The reason I created my company is the sauces, the dressings, the toppings. If you can put those on the food and they're healthy and they add taste and functionality, you are so far ahead of the game. And the fact that you can't eat a basket of bread rolls before dinner comes, or that you can't, eat a massive dessert, I think most people get that's a nice trade-off if appetite is controlled, if they get rid of hunger and cravings and appetite, if they trend toward their ideal body composition, if they have all the energy they need all the time, if they sleep well, then you've checked off all the boxes. And to have given up candy or soft drinks, to have given up some amount of grains was well worth it, provided, again, that you never go hungry and that you enjoy every bite of food you eat. Well, the reason I wrote the Keto Reset Diet, we have a 21-day stair-step program. So in order to earn the right to go keto, in the book, for instance, there's a 21-day sort of elimination process where you're getting rid of the pies, the cakes, the candies, the cookies, the breads, the pastas, the cereals. You're starting to incorporate more of the, certainly more vegetables, because fiber and vegetables are not a no-no on keto. They're actually encouraged. Healthy proteins, healthy fats. Again, taste is critical. First thing I tell people when they embark on this program is don't let yourself go hungry. Don't set yourself up for failure. So if you do get hungry and you'd normally reach for a bagel in the middle of the afternoon or a donut or whatever, have some nut butter. Have some Artisana coconut butter. It's one of my favorite go-to kind of take the edge off things. Or a handful of macadamia nuts, or some beef jerky, or something that isn't going to go back your old ways, but is going to take the edge off your hunger, get you through that period while your body is learning how to burn fat. So the reason it's 21 days is when we eat food, every bite of food has a hormonal effect on the body. one way or the other. You got insulin, you got leptin, ghrelin, glucagon, testosterone, epinephrine, norepinephrine. We could go on and on. It's all these signaling systems that are responding to the information that you're putting down your gullet. So when you eat sugar, insulin goes up, starts a whole cascade of events, shuts down testosterone, increases cortisol a little bit. On the other hand, you take a healthy fat in, no insulin, there's a different set of leptin ghrelin interactions, and hunger suppresses because fat is satiating. So there are all these different processes that happen as a result of your choices in food. What we're trying to do in 21 days is rewire your body. So where I talked in my original book about reprogram your genes to burn fat. Well, you're taking these genes, which are basically information sets, and you're upregulating certain things. When you say, I'm going to deny glucose for a while, then the body goes, okay, I'm set up for that. So if you deny glucose, we're going to upregulate the enzyme systems to take fat out of storage, that burn it in the mitochondria. And if you do that long enough, we're going to upregulate other enzymes or other systems that make more mitochondria, which is where the fat burns. So over time, you reduce glucose. The brain, which is used to glucose, goes, oh, geez, there's not going to be much glucose. I better go to plan B, which is send some signals and convert some fats in the liver to ketones so the brain is happy with fuel, doesn't need glucose. Increase those mitochondria in the muscles so they get much more energy from the fat. There's twice as many of these little factory powerhouses that are made in the cells because you sent the signals to your genes to do that. Now that takes 3 weeks. It takes 3 weeks to get about 80% there. So if we stair-step this down for the first 3 weeks, there's a midterm exam in the book, and it's basically, how do you feel? So can you wake up in the morning and not be ravenous for breakfast? How long can you go in the morning without having to eat, without getting hangry? Can you do a workout fasted? Can you come home from a workout and not eat for an hour and a half? How's your sleep? We have all these, and if you pass, if you get a 75 on the exam, you earn the right to go keto.